Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for being here. So, morning after the Jaguars fall to the Steelers 31-25 in the preseason opener. Again, preseason scores mean very little. Overall, what you see can also mean very little. When it comes to the regular season, we've seen some of the best teams in NFL history be horrible in the preseason. We've seen some of the worst teams in NFL history be fantastic in the preseason. So, again, take it with a grain of salt, what we've seen so far throughout one preseason game. And right now, we are going to look at the performances of the Jaguars' starting players against the Steelers. And again, the Steelers were playing backups mostly. There were some starters on the offensive line. Outside of that, those young guys that they have on their offensive line, it was mostly backups for the Steelers, and that does matter, in my opinion. You think if the Jags are playing their starters against Steelers backups, the Jags starters should exit the game with a lead, and they did not do that. But we're going to dive into what I saw from the starters, some coaching points as well, just basically looking at the first two drives, offensive drive one, defensive drive one, and then also Travis Hunter's drive one on the defensive side of the ball. That was technically the second defensive drive. And then obviously the specialists. We'll talk about them as well. But we're going to dive into it. Really appreciate y'all being here. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Clearly still at the in-laws over here, but we will be back home tomorrow. Jags, scheduling note, have 4 practices open to the media this week, so we will be out there a good bit. Technically, training camp is continuing. To me, it's like a different stage, a different part of the process now that preseason has started, but we will be out there. If you want to support the channel further, you can check out genjag.com/shop. Pick up a hat like the one I'm wearing right now. Lots of other cool stuff on the site. So, the penalties obviously got to get cleaned up for sure on the offensive side of the ball. You had 2 penalties on the first drive, well, technically 3, only 2 accepted, but a false start to get the game going. Anton Harrison can't jump. Liam Cohen said after the game, Trevor Lawrence needs to get through the pre-snap process a little bit faster on that one. But Anton Harrison was the only player who jumped, so he can't jump. Maybe Trevor needs to speed it up a little bit. But after that, I thought that Trevor Lawrence had a really good game, game, one drive, right? He was accurate. He was on time. He had time to throw the football when he wanted to get through his reads or needed to get through his reads. There was time to deliver the football. I thought he was getting to the correct reads more often than not, getting the ball into a position to matriculate the ball down the field. They had a really long drive, again, against Steelers backups, but it was a long, sustained drive. Trevor Lawrence was 6 of 7, would have been 7 of 8 probably, but you had the screen that got called back because of, they called a penalty on Walker Little, blocking the back. It definitely wasn't on Little. It was on Cleveland, Ezra Cleveland, but that was a sus call, in my opinion, anyways. He did not touch the back of, I think, Holcomb, it was the linebacker. It was kind of to the side, so I don't know. I know that there's kind of some blurred lines on that a little bit. And then the legitimate penalty was Brian Thomas Jr. was blocking for Travis Hunter before Travis Hunter caught the ball. So that is offensive pass interference. So you got to get that cleaned up a little bit. But Trevor Lawrence, outside of the throw to Brian Thomas Jr. that was incomplete, where that ball needs to be driven a little bit harder. I mean, it came out pretty fast in terms of like the velocity off of his hand. Maybe it's just a throw you don't throw because you're leading BT right into the safety to get hit. You definitely can't throw it high and inside because that leads, again, BT more towards the safety. But if you throw it a little bit behind, maybe it's in harm's way with the outside leverage defender. I don't know. Maybe that's just a throw you don't attempt, or if you are going to attempt it, it needs to be a little bit cleaner. So I loved the 2nd and 10 where they had the right side of the field covered. The Steelers defense went back to Brenton Strange. That was like a really nice example of working through progression and delivering an accurate football to Brenton Strange. They did a good job, Trevor Lawrence did, executing the screen game. There's been talks at time about him not having as much touch on the ball on the short throws, like he kind of rifles it in there too much. I thought he did a really good job on the screen game. In this one, he had a really nice delivery to Parker Washington, put it in the right spot, high and outside, away from the defensive leverage. That was good to see. On 2nd and 15, there was a play where he didn't like what he saw. I couldn't tell if he was looking at Parker Washington on the shallow cross and Parker wasn't looking for the ball yet, or if he was looking to the next level. But either way, he didn't like what he saw, took off, and was able to get a few yards there. And we've got the sun behind me. Sorry about that. Was able to get a few yards there to pick up a positive play on 2nd and 15 instead of getting sacked or making a bad throw or throwing to a receiver that wasn't looking. Still pick up. It looked to me like 4 yards. They marked it as 3. On 3rd and 12, he had a nice delivery to Travis Hunter. I think ideally you would have liked to seen that a little bit deeper of a shot. But if Hunter doesn't slip because of the wet field, that might be a first down, or it might be at least in a spot where you feel good going for it on 4th down, which Liam Cohen talked about. I think if they got it to 4th and 4, he said they would have probably gone for it, but still in field goal range, well within field goal range for Cam Little. So they were able to put 3 points on the board. I thought the pass pro was very strong, which exactly what you want to see against backups. Even the Steelers' backups, though, do have talent. That defense, even the backup unit, is loaded with guys that have started or young guys that will start at some point in their career. So that is something to keep in mind. And big, physical, well-coached. So yeah, pass pro was really good. Trevor had a lot of time to throw. That's exactly what you want. I thought Liam Cohen did a great job. He was playing his hits, as we talked about last night. The motion handoff to De'Ami Brown on 4th and 1. Walker Little and Brian Thomas Jr. both made the blocks they needed to make on that play, which was really cool to see. Just that kind of come to fruition, because you've seen that so much with Liam Cohen's Tampa offense, that type of play. And that's the type of play where you can riff off of it and iterate it and get the defense really off balance if you continue throughout the game with your starters, which obviously they didn't in this one. So that was the first drive, right? Long, time-consuming drive, didn't finish it off, couple too many penalties, right? Travis Etienne, he had a couple carries on the first drive. His first run, I thought that Peyton Wilson actually tripped him instead of making a clean tackle, which I don't think you're supposed to do, but neither here nor there. Etienne's second run, he got a couple, maybe 3 yards. I thought he missed a huge cutback lane on that one. And then Etienne on that screen that he caught was really nice. He slipped a tackle and picked up a first down. So that's, Etienne in space is exactly what you want to see overall. The offense for me gets a B. Points docked for penalties. Little negative points for, Trevor Lawrence leading Brian Thomas Jr. into a hit. Little negative points for Etienne not missing that huge cutback, in my opinion. But solid performance, right? You can't go broke taking a profit. 3 points, you'll take it. You would like to see a touchdown against the Steelers' backups, but it is what it is. I thought it was a good start overall outside of the penalties, honestly. The penalties are what, in my opinion, stopped the Jaguars from potentially scoring a touchdown. So this was definitely a start that the offense can build off of. Again, I'm giving the offense a B overall. Defensively, first play, you have 6 guys trying to get to the quarterback with absolutely no pressure. Easy completion from Mason Rudolph to Roman Wilson with Tyson Campbell in pretty tight coverage, but it was still pretty easy completion. So that was a disappointing start. Then you get a little bit later in the first drive, and it's 3rd and 2 for the Steelers. Your cornerbacks are 9 yards off the line of scrimmage. That is unacceptable. That is not a recipe for winning football. And again, it's the preseason. Yes, it is. We know that. We have to take that context in, but that's not good coaching. You're still trying to put your guys in positions, even if it's kind of vanilla, to have success. Your corners are not going to look successful if they are lined up 9 yards off the line of scrimmage and a receiver only has to get 2 yards. That's not going to happen. And I've had some people talk to me about Liam Cohen address that after the game, saying they need to be more sticky. They've been playing a lot of man lately. They're switching to zone. Maybe they're overreacting to that and kind of, not playing sticky enough because they're learning. That might be the case on some of these plays that we're talking about, but on that, you're failing by alignment. You're failing before the snap. So that has to be fixed. I thought the downhill pursuit was pretty good overall. It wasn't like stunning, but it was pretty good. Caleb Johnson's a talented runner. Um, on a 2nd and 19 play for the Steelers, the Jags only rushed 3. And, maybe that will work for this new defense and Anthony Campanile and stuff, but like that has not worked in Jacksonville for the last, 4 or 5 years. Every time you've seen the Jaguars rush 3 and drop 8, it has not been pretty. It has been an easy completion, and that's exactly what you saw. They gave up a first down on a run play on 3rd and 4, which sucks. I thought by alignment, again, the Steelers put the Jaguars at a disadvantage. They got Tyson Campbell in a spot where he had to make a play in the C gap against a big physical running back, and he couldn't even slow Caleb Johnson down. So that was, again, in my opinion, winning before the snap. The Darnell Washington touchdown, it looked like there was just too much space in between the 2nd and 3rd level of the defense. And again, it was Tyson Campbell there who had outside leverage. They hit it high and inside to a massive monster of a tight end in Darnell Washington. That's a tough play for Tyson Campbell to be able to make, but maybe if he's in at least stickier coverage, he could potentially get a hand on. I don't know. That's tough. That's a tough spot to be put in. I thought Tyson Campbell was put in a lot of really tough spots in this first drive for the Jaguars defense, and it didn't look great. That's going to have a lot of folks pointing the finger at him, and he wasn't perfect. But I also think the defense didn't do a lot to help him out from an alignment and scheme perspective. So disappointing. Defense gets an F. You can't let Mason Rudolph and company drive down the field that easily and score a touchdown against you. That's just not great football. Not a good start for the defense. They got to go back to the drawing board a little bit, in my opinion. Travis Hunter had one missed play, a missed tackle. Other than that, to me, he was lights out in coverage. He was part of the reason that Dwan Smoot was able to get a coverage sack on a big play, so that was really cool to see. He was playing physical with Roman Wilson. They were jawing back and forth at each other a little bit. I love to see that. Last play of the game for him, he was pressed up on the line of scrimmage. I think it was like 3rd and 20. He lost his footing a little bit as the receiver kind of released outside and then cut back inside, but he did recover. So, I think in this game there was a couple times where you saw Travis Hunter slippery field, wet conditions a little bit. You want to see him on a clean track and really be able to open up and go. But he did pretty good overall. Logan Cook, Cam Little, special teams, they get an A, obviously. Cam Little gets an A++. 70-yard kick, absolutely ridiculous. 4 of 4 on field goals. What a freaking day for that kid. Logan Cook did really well, too. I think Ross Matisic had one missed tackle on a punt coverage, and I think they gave up one pretty decent kick return, but special teams, they get an A without question. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. That's kind of my recap of the Jaguars starters for this one. Offense, pretty good. Defense, very bad. Special teams, hell yeah. Appreciate y'all being here. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.